Hello. Um, let's see. Okay. Staying on Venus is required for planet activation, otherwise, Mars will overpower us. And it's kind of hard for me to stay on Venus, I'm not gonna lie. Um, it's definitely more feminine, and clearly, I'm used to the dad group taking care of me, which is sort of like, I'll take care of it, I'll take care of it, I'll take care of it, I'll take care of it. And I'm trying to braid in the mom group, and it's like a completely different feeling. And yeah, it's kind of hard for me. It is kind of hard for me. But I'm doing my best. Right. Isn't Danny a part of the mom group? And she's, you know, it's they're like, oh, she just loves for women to be out of line because then she has someone to save. And I'm like, no, not really. You know, um, I just got to braid in the mom group, braid in the mom group. And because we love Venus, I love Venus. And oh, I do remember some of my dreams last night. I was like, I had like a ton of like Venus from Sailor Moon tchotchkes. And but I don't remember much of it. I think I was here. Oh, I was here. I was here in my hotel room with the manager, but I think she was combined with Shauna, Ava, and she was like on the phone a lot. And there was a hornet in my room, and I kicked Shauna out onto the porch. She was on the phone, and I to get the hornet out, and then I got the hornet out too. Um, and then like people were getting me like a ton of Venus uh like memorabilia from Sailor Moon, from Japan, and I had like a ton of cool Venus stuff. And I remember that um but yeah, I remembered a lot when I woke up, and then I just sort of forgot it all. But yeah, that was a part of it. And you know, so I am trying to braid in that feminine group called Venus. It's definitely something that I would love to feel included in space activation, because I love Venus and I love women, and it's definitely my own thing to be more Martian, to be more masculine than feminine. I've always been more masculine than feminine in this lifetime, and so I'm trying to be more feminine. Um, like I'm um, consciously trying to be more feminine, uh, and rely more on the feminine, which would be including, I feel like this is like a feminine hotel, and like not be like, oh, I need my dad, I need my dad, I need my dad. Everything's going to be okay. They're usually pretty good about this stuff. I can trust women. I can trust myself and women. And to be more like that instead of like, you know, going to Mars, need my dad, see you later. So that's sort of my MO right now, is like trusting the divine feminine, trusting the feminine on earth, really. Just, women on earth, just trying to trust women on earth, trying to braid them into planet activation and not run away when there's like a tiny little thing and it like upsets my dad group, and they're all like freaking out or whatever. And I'm like, no, they're usually pretty good about this stuff. They're usually pretty good about this stuff. Everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay, even though we're on Venus. Everything's gonna be okay, So I'm trying to um, yeah, that's basically what's happening. And yeah, does that make sense, guys? So Fresh is knocked out. He is enjoying a nap right now. We went out for a morning walk and he was aggro. So I want to say Martians are like aggro on Venus. That's where we're trying to braid the energies together. Um, and I just love when Fresh is just like knocked out and like enjoying his nap in the air conditioner, and he's just like living his best life, living his vida loca with like, on his he has like a pink he I bought this giant cushion. It was like $100 cushion um on Amazon. It's like a floor pillow basically, to be used as like a floor pillow, like to sit on the floor with or something like that. And it's like really big and long. It's like it's big for the body. And I just fold it over once and use it as his dog bed. So it's like a fancy dog bed. It's like $100 cushion for humans, but it's his dog bed, and it's pink and it's plush and it's feminine, and you know it's his Venus. It's about as Venus as you can get, really, right there. So Danny is like, we need to treat Colin like a normal person. That's not a problem. Obviously, Danny would say that because Danny sort of gets herself um, as the divine feminine slash masculine, because she's sort of like me. So she's probably like me, trying to fold in the more feminine aspects as well, which I was never really allowed to reach on this planet. That's why I'm trying my best to push against the Mars narrative, because Mars will overpower us. Okay, if you keep pushing me into a masculine direction, then Mars is definitely going to overpower us. And I was never really allowed to be a feminine aspect on this planet, even though clearly I'm a woman. And what do I mean by feminine aspect? I mean someone who can lounge all day, someone who's in her femininity all day, someone who stays home and decorates the house all day, someone who probably, is painting the walls of her house, someone like Jen in Mother. That would be the divine, even though that's obviously a very dark movie. It's a very dark feminine aspect movie, but like that on the normal realm, the normal plane, that is a feminine aspect. A housewife is a feminine aspect that I was never allowed to hold on my own planet Earth. Okay, like I always had to be the divine breadwinner. That's a divine masculine. Okay, I always had to be the go getter. I always had to be the idea person. I always had to be head of marketing. I always had to be the best artist in the group. I always had to be, you know, um, egotistical in that fashion, where I had to be thinking about my career, and I had to be thinking about my next steps, and I had to, outdo myself this time with my portfolio, and, always be the most cutting edge person in my graphic design group. So I was always like, seen as like more creative than the rest, which would be more egotistical in the masculine sense of being a divine breadwinner for the group. I always made the group tons of money. That's very divine masculine. Okay. I was always allowed to hold the divine masculine rights. I was never allowed to hold the divine feminine rights in this lifetime. Thus, not allowed to marry Colin Farrell to this day. They're constantly fighting against me to not marry my husband that I'm already married. Atreyu, I've already married him. Um, Always, like, you gotta work, you gotta post, you gotta get views, you gotta have 1 million followers. Those are all divine masculine rights, again, that you might be trying to push me into. And I'm letting you know it's not going to go well. You're going to lose a lot of the divine feminine if you do that. If you don't let me be the divine feminine on this planet, if you only let me be the divine masculine, that's all that's going to be left on this planet. I need to also be able to hold space for the divine feminine, which I am, which is more of a lounger, which is more of a relaxer, which is more of a mom. I revel in fresh, being comfortable. I revel in like buying fresh the best pillow that cost way too much money for a dog. And I revel in giving him the best food and taking him on the best walks and making sure he's comfortable. That's a divine feminine aspect. It's more lazy. It's more relaxed. It's more not in charge. Again, it's not something you let me do on this planet. Here I am alone. I should have Colin Farrell literally in my room telling me to not worry about little tiny things being out of order or wrong, or what do you like, why do you even worry about this stuff, Alyssa? It's me and you. Like, everything's fine. You don't even let him be in my hotel room. So you're not letting me be the divine feminine on this trip, on this journey. I'm only the divine feminine in the occultism realm. Okay? Does that make sense? I need to be able to physicalize the divine feminine aspect, which would mean getting married and being the divine feminine in a marriage, which you guys don't let me do. Does that make sense? Um, you know, Taking care of my kids, feeding them great meals, while Colin is the head of the household. That would be the divine feminine aspect in this life. You never let me be a part of her. You never let me, you let me get engaged up until a point, and then it was space attacks all day. And then the whole planet was, the New World Order people were eradicated in a space war. You didn't let me hold the divine feminine, and the masculine aspect you gave me was much more of a divine feminine than a divine masculine. He was the divine feminine and I was the divine masculine, and it's not supposed to be like that, okay? Because if you want to talk about gender roles or whatever, um, you know, Julian was a divine masculine, and he started to not be able to be the divine masculine in our relationship as well. So he felt it as well. Okay, so it's like you guys want to talk about trans and how trans aren't real, and fighting against trans people and all this stuff or whatever, but like then you push against the divine masculine, you make him feminine, and you push against the divine feminine, and you make me masculine. And then you ask why gender roles are so fucked up on this planet, because you don't allow me, the divine goddess. I'm the only goddess in the whole fucking place, and you don't let the divine goddess be the goddess. I have to be God, right? I have to hold space for the divine masculine. Where's my phone? I hear it going off. If you don't stop with these spam calls right now, there's so many fucking spam calls, okay? Okay. You let like lower feminine aspects be the divine feminine on this planet. I don't really understand why. I never understood why. Um, I never understood why that you like the divine masculine would always take the lowest feminine aspect he could find and hold her as the divine goddess. That definitely seems to be like a pattern on planet Earth. And um, you have to hold like the divine feminine aspect, like the you have to let me be the divine feminine aspect on Earth, and for it to all spiral and go in order. Um, you know, you guys just won't let me be the divine feminine aspect on Earth, and this is a Palladian construct. This is a feminine planet, and you're not letting the feminine exist on Earth. This is a feminine planet. Earth is a feminine planet. Mars is a masculine planet. Okay, so you're not letting me, the divine feminine, the divine goddess, exist as the divine feminine on a feminine planet. So what is that going to do to the divine feminine on the actual planet? It's going to displace her. She's having a hard time existing here. All feminine aspects are having a hard time existing here because me, the goddess, isn't being allowed to be held by Colin. It's really that simple. And I don't know how many times I have to over explain it to myself. Um, you know, do I care that you want to hold the lowest aspect of the goddess as the most sacred in the physical? No, not really. But let me help you out and give myself a divine feminine treatment so that it spirals and it's in line and it doesn't become decrepit and dissipate after much chaos, confusion, anger, fear, violence, jealousy, hatred, because it's a negative aspect of the divine feminine, and she holds those codes and she holds those keys. And then you wonder why it's like, why is it happening? Well, that's where she's from. That's where she's from, and unless she's held, by some anchor from the upper realms, it's kind of over, is what I'm saying. If you want to hold like Michelle Obama as like the highest feminine aspect, or like another version of me on like a higher, like it's not working, obviously, to hold one of my mothers in a divine feminine realm. You have to actually hold the real divine feminine. And it's so crazy that you just wouldn't let me be the divine feminine in my own fucking realm on planet Earth. It's so crazy to me. Um, Julian was one of my boyfriends, and he was a divine masculine from Mars. And he should have been allowed to hold me as the divine feminine. You guys can't keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and asking why this keeps happening to you. When you hear Colin Farrell's voice coming through me loud and clear, and you know it's real, and I mean, we're kind of doing it to impress you, but we're kind of just doing it to be like, hey, look, we are here, and we are listening to you, we are in the room, and you're not alone. Um, you know, um, like they were saying, the general public is mainly in alignment with me, Alyssa, and they do respect me and they don't understand where these out of line concurrents come from. And it's sort of like a treat for them when they hear like Brandon's voice or Colin's voice, and because they're used to serving me, the goddess, and getting along with the goddess and having the goddess in their mix. And I'm going to say it, but it's a privilege to have me in your mix. You've heard me say multiple times, I'm just going to walk into Colin's house and I'm never going to come out because you're pissing me off. And I hate to say things like that, but it's better to be reminded. It's better to be reminded before it actually happens and everything like that. You know, so anyway, there's a whole spiel on Venus activation and Mars activation and Saturn activation. I guess Saturn would be feminine too. I feel like I don't know if Saturn's feminine or masculine. I feel like it's more masculine, but Mars is obviously a masculine planet. Earth is obviously a feminine. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Venus is a feminine that we keep leaving out, and then Saturn would be masculine. And yes, another version of Venus would be Jen Lawrence, Jen Law. She would definitely be another version of Venus. Venus in the comic books, she was an actress and a secret superhero. And so it's very much my wife, Jennifer Lawrence's life. And how dare I ever want to leave out my wife? I definitely don't want to leave out my wife. But Gigi is like the resident Venus around here, Miss Gigi Young. She is my Venus, and yeah, Gigi's like one of my besties. One of the only people that gets me on planet Earth. And anyway, what else is there to say about that? But just let me live as the feminine, please, planet Earth. Hear my prayers, people of planet Earth, and let us work together in this divine matrix we call life, and let me live out my days as the divine feminine, because the divine masculine is cooked. I need to step into the divine feminine, or the planet is not going to succeed. The planet will fall. I think I'm describing this correctly so that people can understand it. I need to live as the divine feminine. You guys don't let me live as the divine feminine. Therefore, it is unbalanced. It is an unbalanced universe. Therefore, I keep resetting in the void, resetting in the space capacitors, resetting in the space activator. That's why I keep resetting, guys. And that's why Brandon keeps changing. I thought Brandon was the reptilian and Colin was the Palladian. And now Brandon's from Venus. Well, Venus is a different planet than Nibiru and the inner reptilians of Earth, and Martian is unconditional love of a reptilian, and the Pleiades is a different planet than Mars. So they switch back and forth like this, and then I go straight up like this, and then they go like this. Okay, so that's why Brandon is becoming Palladian, called a Venetian or a Venusian. Um, and that would make sense with my Victorian house in New Jersey, and how there's another timeline where Brandon was the dad in that house, and it's a Venusian timeline where he's the Palladian, and Marco Polo himself, Mr. Colin Farrell, is the Martian. Okay. Alyssa, just make space comics and leave us alone. I am kind of hungry. Um, there is a Whole Foods near here, which I think I'm going to go to a little later. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, since they wanted me to drink today and relax. And it's like when I have like a man in the house, it's like I don't worry about shit, you know? Um, yeah, it's like when you have a man in the house, you don't worry about anything. But it's when you're alone, like you're so worried about everything because you have to take on the masculine and the feminine roles. And for a long time, I lived like that. I lived where I was both the masculine and the feminine, and I was comfortable like that and happy like that, but I'm cooked. And the divine masculine, he's definitely cooked, okay? Um, I talk to him every day, and he is cooked. And if I can be a divine feminine, it's gonna help all of the fucking lower Pleiades out big time. And you should know that by now. You know what the thing is I miss is like hotel rooms. They have like cable still. Like there's like one of the only places in the world that still has cable. It's like a hotel room. And so it's just like a little disappointing to be like in a hotel room and then like not have a TV with like a random cable that like you can just like watch Cops 24/7 on, or like some random movie like that I found the other day, like what is it? Time Means War or something like that, with Tom Hardy and Chris Pine and Reese Witherspoon. It's like the CIA movie. It has nothing to do with war, and it has to do with like two guys fighting over a girl in the CIA, and they hire the CIA. They're like, "You're gonna stalk this girl on your paycheck." And uh anyway, it's kind of funny that I can't watch random movies like that and be like, "Oh, it's one of my husband's movies I've never heard of," that like, and I like Google them. I will Google them. Okay, I'll show you what I do. We'll use Tom Hardy as a reference point. Tom Hardy movies. Okay. So you do Tom Hardy movies, like just as an example, you can use any man or woman. Should I use my favorite Venetian, Sandra Bullock? Let's use Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock. I mean, she doesn't need any Venetian help whatsoever. And so you just Google Sandra Bullock movies, okay? And then you hit more. And then you have a whole list, the whole freaking list with little thumbnails of the movie included, so you can get a good idea of the movie with the graphics involved. And then you can go through their whole IMDb. You can scroll through their whole IMDb and be like, let's see. Let's see what her breakout role was. The Thing Called Love. That looks semi-familiar. Let's see. Let's keep going. Wrestling Ernest Hemingway. He's my fave. Okay. While You Were Sleeping. I think that was her breakout role in 1995. And then let's see her next. A Time to Kill. I think that's a famous one. And then it skips right to Speed 2. Oh, Speed looks like it was her breakout role in 1994. That's crazy. I thought she had a whole long career before she got Speed. But whatever, I guess she didn't. Okay, so it looks like Speed is her breakout role. And, what my favorite movie? Oh, The Prince of Egypt. Look at that. She has a whole movie about where she's from. Ancient Egypt. What do you know? Practical Magic. That's my favorite Sandra Bullock movie. And it is the best movie in the world. It's really good. Miss Congeniality. I think that's what everybody knows Sandra Bullock for, but we've never seen it. I don't know one person who's seen Miss Congeniality, but it's sort of like everybody knows her for that. 2 Weeks Notice. I feel like that. Crash. I don't know that one. Yeah, Sisterhood. I feel like that was like important back in the time. The Lake House. Another one with Keanu. Wow. How does this like completely average girl keep getting Keanu Reeves? I don't know. Let's see. The Proposal. That one was really good. That's with my bestie, Mr. Ryan Reynolds. The Blind Side, really great movie. Apparently is a huge lie. About Steve, Premonition, Loverboy, Sisterhood, Murder in Numbers. See, there's like just a bunch of movies like I've never heard of. Like, never heard of. Like, In Love and War, never heard of it. The Net, never heard of it. Me and the Mob, never heard of it. Fire on the Amazon, never heard of it. When the Party's Over, never heard of it. But yeah. Oh my God, how did she get Keanu? I want to know their secret. Me too. I want to know your secret too, Sandra. Like, it's like so great. Like when people are just like, "Oh my God, I just love her." Like, really? She looks like every woman I've ever seen at the grocery store. Every woman I've ever seen at the grocery store. I'm just like, "Oh, there's a Sandra Bullock." How many of them do they exist? How many? There's just so many of them. Must be their video game. Why isn't she married to Keanu Reeves in real life? I don't know. She must not have a pretty personality. She just must be all looks. She's just like all looks. Like every girl looks like her at the grocery store, and every time I see her, I'm like, you're just all looks. You're just literally all looks. Did you guys see Gravity? It was really fucking good. You must have like the worst personality ever because obviously Keanu would have married you because you're like literally all looks. So you just like must be like horrible to like be around. Every time I look at Sandra, I'm like, oh my God, that's such an exotic beauty. Why are they in the grocery store and not on the runway? She's like so exotic looking. Like, why is she just like all over the grocery store? She's just like not on the runway, like not even once. They all look like Gigi Hadid. Like why? Like what do you think, Jen? Why do you think? I don't know. I have no idea. Oh my God, Sandra. But you're just like so beautiful. You're so beautiful, Sandra. Like, why do you need to do that to yourself? Why do you need to sell yourself for money in the movie industry? You're like so beautiful. Don't people like love you for your beauty, Sandra? Oh my God. Like everybody in the grocery store is just like literally Sandra Bullock. And like she belongs on the runway. Like, if you're gonna go for it, Sandra, you bet you should just go for it and like make all of like your clones on the runway and just like take them out of the grocery store once and for all. Why don't we just make like the grocery store full of Gigi Hadids? And like we'll just like make the runway like all Sandra Bullock's. Like I'm talking her face, her body, her legs, her boobs, her stomach, like the whole shebang. Okay, like I don't want to see Giselle with a Sandra Bullock head. I want to see all Sandra Bullock. Okay, like all average natural on the runway right now. And I want to see all Gigi Hadids in the grocery store right now. Okay, let's prove Sandra Bullock's point together. She is supermodel material and she deserved Keanu Reeves the first time she ever did Speed.